Hello, I'm Nan Simonson. I have done a series of videos on a bean that I have discovered that is so nutritious that I'm just loading us up with it, and I figured I'll just show you every time I do something. I did a makuri dal, which is well, you can call it a Indian curry that I had 2 nights ago with family, and they loved it. And then I just did a Shahi dal, which is the Punjabi region up north in India. So it was strong spices with some almonds mixed in, and slightly different flavor. And that will be posted. And now I'm doing a split Urad Dal risotto. This is very different then. So what is the Urad Dal? It's a black bean, a solid, small, very small black bean. But this recipe calls for the split bean. It can be spelled U-R-A-D or U-R-I-D, and it's Urad Dal. I'm using this brand Dun Raj, and D-H-A-N-R-A-G or R-I-G-J, sorry. But you can get this on Amazon. You can get the black bean on even from Walmart online. Not the split one, but the solid one. So I'm gonna start cooking because this is dinner tonight. And I have a hot, very hot base on my Instant Pot. This is supposed to be done on the stove. It's supposed to take 40 or 45 minutes of stirring it every few minutes. That's what you do with a risotto. I don't want to do that. So I'm sort of experimenting and bringing you along with me. And the recipe, when it is printed, will indicate exactly what I did that I liked or wouldn't do again, or it will be a little more clear. So this is on the saute setting of my Instapot. This is a 6-quart Instapot. Finely chopped onion that I'm simply spreading along the bottom and letting them begin to weep. And that's what they will do. They will lose their moisture, and that's what we want them to do. I have garlic, but I won't be adding that until the onions are rather moist and until they have already gotten golden. I'm going to chop up some mushrooms, and I'm going to show you before, sorry for going off camera. I'll be doing that while this is cooking, but I'm using cremini as well as just white button mushrooms. Both of them are, again, highly nutritious. And the point of the way I teach is a whole food plant-based teacher with a bent on lifestyle as medicine, taking great care of ourselves so we can go on and on as healthy as our bodies will let us. And our bodies are mainly epigenetic, meaning the way we treat them, the environment they're in, not genetic. Genetics play just a much, much smaller role, maybe 20%. So it pays to take great care of yourself, and the food matters. Whole food plant-based is the way I roll. So the onions are starting to stick a little, and what I'll use, I make my own broth from the scraps that I save in a freezer bag. And I'll add just a little bit, because what this does is it's bubbling up. It's bubbling up and caramelizing that bit of juice that the onions sweat off. I'm going to add to this, just to get it going, these carrots. And what I'm making is the base for the risotto. If you're familiar with risotto, it's an Italian dish. It is made with Arborio rice, which is starchy and little round, bright white rice, rather distinctive. It's cooked on the stove, and as it cooks, it becomes thicker and thicker, and it cooks quite often without the cover on. And cheese and butter and cream is added to it. I don't eat any of that. With a whole food plant-based diet, I eat no animal product at all, and I'm not quite 100% SOS free, salt, oil, sugar free, but I don't add oil to my food. And that's the other thing. This would have tablespoons of ghee, which is clarified butter and used extensively in India, or oil. I don't do that. So my food will be lower in calories, higher in nutrients, and that the oil does have a negative effect on our vascular system. You can watch some of my other videos about that. And it works just as well, and it's just as flavorful. So as this is browning, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the bean. So the bean is very high in omega-3 fatty acids. It's very high in protein and fiber and folate and calcium and iron and zinc and just on and on. It's one of the most nutritious beans I've found, but what excited me the most was that its omega-3 profile was excellent. And a lot of us on whole food plant-based eating plans go after a lot of flax, a lot of chia seed, because that's where we get, and walnuts, because those are high, some of the highest in omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential fatty acids. We don't make them in our body. This actually triples what any of those has. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more broth. Okay. Now I'm going to add the garlic. I don't want this to burn, and I don't even want it to brown. And what's happening, and I'll show it to you before I add the beans and get this started. I'm going to talk about asafoetida. It's very Indian. It is, its common name, its Hindi name is hing, and it is hideously flavored. Maybe that's why it's called asafoetida. Foetida in botanical terms means fetid, terrible, but it helps with digestion of the bean. It helps cut the gassiness of the bean, and you use it in tiny, tiny portions. For this entire dish, I'll use 1/8 of a teaspoon. And if I didn't have it, I wouldn't use it. So you don't have to go out and buy it. But if you're going to do a lot of Indian cooking, it's worth having some. You can get it from an Indian store, and that's the other thing. If you Google Indian store, I don't know where you live, but around me, there were 3 of them. Indian spices and sweets and Indian grocers, and that's where I got my beans, although I could have ordered them online. And you can get a lot of the spices that are used in Indian food. So I'm going to add a little bit. You know what? I'm supposed to hold off on that. Let me just put it here. That goes in when the nutritional yeast goes in. All right, now I've got what I've been looking for. And it didn't take that long. It took absolutely no oil. And see if I can lift this without burning myself. No, I can't. There. It's golden. The onion is golden. The garlic is mixed in. The carrots are softening, and I'm about to get it started. I'm going to be cooking this for 40 minutes. You would think, gosh, if the beans are split, which opens them up, opens up the, what we call endosperm up to, I don't know if it would be called the endosperm if it's not a grain, it's a bean, so that may not be true. In any case, it's going to take that much time ultimately, but let's just see what happens when I open it up, because I may even have to cook it a little bit longer. I'm mixing the beans in. Again, I didn't want to deal with this on the stove. Yeah, actually, that the 40 minutes is the time it would take on the stove. All right. I'm going to cook this for 20 minutes. I'm pouring in, to start, about 3 cups of broth, and I'll be more specific. No, I think I'll put a little bit more. I want it to cover the beans. There we go. And there. Now I'm going to add nutritional yeast, which gives it a umami flavor, a bit of cheesiness, a richness. The hing, what was that? Asafoetida. All right. And I'm going to add fresh chopped basil. I have my own basil plant. It's actually a potted basil plant. And it looks like that. Lovely fragrance. And so this doesn't have any, or many, it doesn't have the cumin, it doesn't have the garam masala, it doesn't have a lot of the flavors that the stews that I've made out of this does, because this is quite different. I may want to add a little bit more. See, on the stovetop, it called for 4 cups of water, and then adding water as you go, sometimes up to 1.5 cups, as you cooked and watched it for 40 minutes. Well, we're not doing that. How are we doing here? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set it. I'm going to give it, as I said, actually, I'm going to give it, let's give it 18 minutes. And you'll see on the recipe, so I cancel out the saute. You'll see on the recipe what I end up thinking is the right one. I'm going to leave it at 18 right now, and I'll be back to you. And we'll put this together, risotto with a mushroom, a sautéed mushroom topping. Well, again, no sautéing with oil, but you'll see how I do it. I'll add it to the video. Bye. Hi, all right, I'm finished with the risotto. What I did when the risotto had finished cooking is I left it for a natural release that took about 20 minutes. Maybe I got a little anxious and let the rest of the pressure out. Then I opened it up. I'll probably use less water than I put in because I had to cook it down and cook it down by using the saute function, but that was just fine too, because I did that while I was finishing the mushrooms. And to create the mushrooms, you saw me do a dry saute. I added some chopped chilies to it that I keep in the freezer. I grow chilies, chop them up and very finely, and put them in the freezer for easy use. And tasted this for seasoning. I did add some salt. I also added some balsamic vinegar at the end. So the way I will spoon it up is I'll put it on the plate, but just on the side, rather than covering the whole thing with mushrooms. I'll use, there, we'll put that. So with the sauteed mushrooms, this was half cremini, half button mushrooms. I put them in the dry saute, covered it, they let go of their moisture, and then I opened it up. With the saute, I used some onion and some garlic. And usually I'll use a vegan Worcestershire, which I did here too with mushrooms. I like what that does as far as additional flavor. And then cooked it down after I took the cover off and let the broth from the mushrooms cook down. And this is what we have. And we will eat this entire pound of mushrooms, but you can see it cooks down quite a bit. And I have a bay leaf. Let's see, let me find a nice one. There. A little bay leaf garnish. And voila. Doesn't that look good? It's very, very tasty. Well, I hope you give it a try. Give me a thumbs up. Let people know about aging powerfully and eating well. Everything we're eating here has no additional fat. It is the pure food, about as close to nature as you could get it, except legumes. They always have to be cooked. I did salt and pepper. And wow, what a meal. Have a great day, and I know I will. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.